Live.
All right. We are here with our second episode of the Survivor Heavyweights with your hosts, James and Michael. How you doing, Michael?
Good night. I'm doing pretty good.
All right. It's a late one here, but we got a lot to talk about tonight with our 39th ranked season of Survivor, which is Survivor One World Season 24. All right, Michael, you have any initial thoughts on this? Like, you watched it live, correct?
Yes, I watched the season live.
All right, and you were how old?
This was 2012. I was 13.
13, okay. And do you remember what your expectations were coming in? Because I'm going to straight up come out and say, this was the first season I didn't watch. This is when I stopped watching Survivor, and I did not watch it until 2019 when I rediscovered my love for Survivor. So I'm going to let you handle this one. What do you remember at the time about it?
I remember just coming off of South Pacific, I was really happy. There's going to be no returning players. There's going to be no Redemption Island. So I'm like, this is going to be a nice refresh of Survivor. Maybe we'll get some good players. Maybe we'll get some an okay twist, something better than Redemption Island. And the first episode was pretty good. The One World twist, and we'll get into this more later. I love the One World twist.
All right, so I'm going to agree with you on that. I think in this particular season, it didn't gel just because the cast was horrible and they couldn't take advantage of it. But the actual One World twist is really cool. If you could imagine the One World twist on an all-star season or even just a newbie season with a great cast, I think it would have worked a lot better. The twist itself wasn't a total flop. It was the cast that was
the people they put on the island were flops.
Exactly. And do you think there was a lot of recruits for this season, kind of like Redemption Island and South Pacific?
There's definitely a lot.
So I think this era was just heavy recruits, 21 to 24.
Yep.
What were you saying before that?
I was just gonna say, we didn't tell each of our rankings we had this season at. So I had Survivor One World at number 38 on my list, and James had it number 40.
Yep. I actually think going into this, that from what I remember from my first watch and only watch of it in 2019, that it is the worst season of Survivor, and you'll find out where I stand at next to Redemption Island when this is over, but my opinions may or may not have changed on that. All right. Yes. So yeah, I didn't watch it live, but so when I started watching this season, I had already seen a bunch of the other ones I hadn't seen, or seasons 1 through 23. I saw most of them that I had seen as a kid. I had rewatched them before I watched One World. So this is actually one of the last ones I rewatched. And the cast for Winners at War had already been released at the time. And I knew that Kim Spradlin won the season going into the show. So my expectations, had never seen it before, but knowing who won kind of just soured me on the whole thing. And I had heard that at that point that Kim was a great winner, and I knew I was basically about to just witness her basically do what Boston Rob did 2 seasons earlier and just completely dominate the game.
Yeah, absolutely. The only difference is you didn't know Kim was winning until about episode 5. Meanwhile, on Redemption Island, you knew by episode 2, episode 3 that Rob was winning the whole season.
Yeah. So before we get into the specific episodes, let's just talk about Kim in general. What I didn't remember from watching it in 2019, which I caught on my rewatch, is that
I think I know what you're going to say.
Kim was pretty invisible the first few episodes. She was not getting a winner's edit at all. And it seemed that out of their women's alliance, that Sabrina and Alicia were the two that they were mainly focused on, I would say.
It was a lot of Chelsea too. And Chelsea was getting a lot of airtime.
She was. See, it was hard for me to see the winners edit when I knew who won when I watched it, but I didn't think she was like a huge threat to win, but she played a solid game. I would say as solid as you can for a 0 vote finalist.
Yeah,
she was decent. She wasn't horrible. But
yeah, I remember when I first watched, like, it wasn't until the swap that I started, like, we saw Kim on the screen a lot. So when I was going back and rewatching it, I'm like, I wanted to focus more on who was the face of One World on the women's side until Kim showed up. And it was a lot of Chelsea, it was a lot of Sabrina, and a little bit of Alicia, but we'll get into Alicia.
Yeah.
That wasn't a winner's thing. That was just, we'll get into it.
So do you remember, did we know that this season was going to be men versus women before it aired? You did. So like you knew going into the first episode, it was going to be men versus women.
Yeah. When they released the cast, they said it was going to be men versus women, or it was rumored somewhere that it was going to be men versus women.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the first episode. Start it all off. All right. One of my notes is that, as you said earlier, it was kind of redeeming that, especially probably if you watched it live at the time, that there was no Redemption Island on this season after having it for the 2 previous seasons.
And no returning players either. There's no Boston Robs. There's no Russell Hansons. There's no Aussies. There's no coaches.
Yeah, and we can get into it later when we talk about those seasons, but I know neither me or you are that big of a fan of having just 2 returnees play.
It worked once. In all of Survivor, it worked once.
What season was that? Just if you...
Philippines.
Philippines? Okay.
The one returning per tribe. And we'll get into why that one worked when we get into Philippines.
I'll argue it worked for Guatemala too, but we can get into it there.
I forgot about Guatemala, but I think it worked best in Philippines.
Oh, for sure. But okay. So immediately I said no Redemption Island. I like the One World twist. I'm like, you know what? I know this doesn't have the best reputation as a season, but it might be better than I thought, is what my initial thoughts were. And boy, I think I was wrong. All right. So immediately, another thing that stood out is that Troyzan was very confident immediately, but he was also like blowing his brains out about there being a guy named Tarzan on the tribe when his name was also Troyzan. Like how whack is that they had a guy named, I think Troyzan's name was Greg, I want to say.
No, Tarzan's name was Greg. Troyzan's name is Troy.
Troyzan's name is Troy. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. But it's just, I guess you're looking for good characters, but the Tarzan Troyzan thing is weird to me. How they had a guy named Tarzan and a guy that goes by Troyzan. It's wild. Yeah,
but they wanted characters, and the 2 of them are both certainly characters.
Yeah, they're probably the 2 most entertaining men on the season. Most of them hardly gave you anything, I would say. And I think that immediately stands out. I think there's a lot more. I noticed it the first episode that the women's tribe has a lot more personalities than the men's tribe, for sure.
Oh yeah, the women that were casted were much better on for TV than the men were. And like there was only. Sorry, go ahead.
You could immediately tell right away that the early portion of the game, at least before the swap, that the men's tribe, the story was going to be centered around Colton. And immediately I did not like him. And it got worse than I could have imagined.
Every episode got worse.
Yeah. Just when you thought he couldn't get, at first I thought he would, like, oh, this is just a sassy dude. Like, he's a villain. Like, he's not going to take shit from anybody. I kind of like that. It's whatever. And then as the episodes went on, he just started to say nastier and nastier shit to people and rubbed me the wrong way.
Oh yeah, it definitely rubbed me the wrong way.
Rubbed everyone the wrong way. And he's definitely one of the least likable players to ever play Survivor, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard he's changed though, and he was immature when he played. He's went through a lot, I guess, too, with Caleb and everything. But
yeah, And this was also 10 years ago now that this happened. So I would hope that he was grown and changed, and I think he has.
I think he's a better person now for sure.
Yeah, but this was an awful look for someone.
Yeah, it was terrible. All right, so immediately you could tell when they get back to the beach after they find out they're all living on the same island. Colton immediately like goes off to the women, and like the men like should be more slighted by this, I think, but like let's vote this guy out first. But instead, like Colton basically was calling the shots still while he was sneaking off to like talk to the woman, and some of the women didn't even like it either. But
it's someone from the other tribe coming in to invade your personal space.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's not the reason he was doing it.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing it to get info. He was just doing it because he liked them more than he liked his tribe, which Survivor, you gotta like your tribe.
Yeah. And you can't negate your tribe too, but apparently it worked out for him the first few episodes because he wasn't in any danger before he got medevaced. But
I'd say he was in no danger at all.
It was just weird.
I would love to have seen Survivor One World if Colton makes the merge with Kim. I think it would not be as bad as it was. It probably is not that much better, but it would be a little. Maybe I will say like a little bit more of a contest.
Colton might have said some horrible things and been a horrible person on this season, but like he would have brought more to the table than some of these dry.
Oh, he was definitely like the best strategist of all the men.
And Leaf, yeah.
But it's just what he was. I would argue. Person.
I think so. Initially, I thought Troyzan was horrible in Game Changers. He was a total goat in that game. But in this game, I think he had his head in the game. He just got tricked by the woman a little bit right after the merge, and then he was the quickest one to catch on to it, but there wasn't anything he could do.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, he knew once he found out what was going on, he was trying to put an end to it, but no one would go with him.
He had his head in the right place, and ultimately it would have been smart for Alicia, Christina,
and Tarzan
to go against them and go with Troyzan. They would have had a much better shot, but
we'll get into that episode.
Yeah, we'll get there later. All right. So anyways, this episode, one of the biggest things that stood out is the challenge. Courtney gets dizzy and she falls in the middle of the challenge and needs medical attention. Mm-hmm. And then you remember what happens next?
They had to call off the challenge after she had to get taken out. And then they left it up to the men. You could continue the challenge or you could just take immunity, and the men just took immunity.
Yeah, and I think that's a bad move, to be honest.
Oh, I don't. I think they made the right decision.
You think so? Okay, I'll disagree.
It's only day 3. I get it, and you don't want to piss off the other tribe, but take immunity while you can.
That's true, but I think that I would have said let's fairly finish the challenge because, I mean, I know they didn't swap till like episode 5 here, but like, I mean, you never know. Like, you got to build relationships deep in this game, and I guess it was every one of the men, but like you saw how much men versus women oriented this season was, and I guess that could have rubbed some of the women the wrong way about some of these dumb men on this tribe, like from doing this. But if you say that they should have taken the win, I'll respect your argument, though. I don't think it's like a crazy, like, either way. If you think either way, it's fine. It's just, it's kind of one of those stupid things. It didn't really affect the game that much.
Yeah, no.
All right, so they're back at camp now, and Sabrina finds an idol that she has to give to someone on the other tribe, and she decides to give it to Colton. Why do you think she gave it to Colton?
Well, he's hanging around there all the time, and she figured he's probably on the bottom of his tribe because he's never there. Let's try to get him, completely win him over instead of giving it to someone like Matt or Jay or something like that.
Yeah. She was convinced he was on the bottom and wrong about that, but I mean, it played out how it played out. And I mean, Colton never had to use the idol either because he was pretty much in control with those men. All right. So after this, the woman went to tribal and Courtney was not present. And then they tell her that Courtney's pulled from the game and they're not voting anyone out tonight.
Yeah, but Alicia and Christina had that big blow up during tribal.
They did have that blow up. What was it about? Do you remember exactly? I'm trying to remember back.
It was about, I think, something that Christina said about Alicia, or something Alicia said about Christina, and it got back to Christina.
Yeah.
And then Alicia was like, "Oh, deny it, and calling her crazy, whatever."
And then Christina snapped off after that, right?
Yeah.
She told her like, "You're wrong," like shut up, you're wrong, or something like that.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's odd that they didn't just go, like Jeff didn't just show up at the beach and tell them that Courtney's out of the game, like no tribal council tonight? Do you think it's weird that some of these times they make them go to tribal where they think they're voting someone out and then they break them the news that someone's gone?
Well, I think the women kind of knew that, like, if Courtney, when they got to tribal, if Courtney was going to be there or not, that if she wasn't coming back, they were probably not going to vote anybody out.
Yeah.
So, like, I liked what they did, like sending them to tribal, letting them like have a tribal, and then telling them, "Oh, you're not voting anyone out. Courtney's gone."
Yeah, I like it too. It's something different, and honestly, this was not a bad first episode, I would say.
It wasn't.
It's far from the best premieres. Like there's some Cagayan, Winners at War, Palau, I think, Pearl Islands. There's some great premiere episodes. This is not one of them by any means, but it's not bad. It's
not a dud of a premiere.
It's one of the better episodes of the season, in my opinion.
That's not saying much.
It's not, but there's a few better episodes, but it wasn't the worst. All right.
The pre-swap was good.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Then it tailed off, and then post-merge was awful.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to episode 2. Yeah, so they had a reward challenge. The men win again. So at this point,
that was the do-it-yourself challenge too.
Yeah, at this pulling the ropes, they're at camp, which was interesting. I always think those are interesting.
And the winner got a tarp.
Yeah, Jeff was not there. I think that Bill was basically.
Bill took over as host for that challenge.
It was kind of like a big brother type of thing with a
veto competition.
How they handle the challenge, yeah. All right, well, at this point in 2012, when you're watching this, you see the men win again. Did you sense any sort of possibility that the men might dominate this early portion of the season?
Well, I figured they'd be better in challenges, but like they're not going to win everything.
Yeah.
And I felt like when the immunity challenge came, I thought the women would have a better chance at it than they did, but I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I was very wrong.
All right, so they won, and then you have Colton going back to the women again, and at this point is when Kim and Sabrina basically tell him, "You're annoying. Like, you're being very annoying. This is not your tribe." So, like, they basically set it straight with him, and he still didn't. I don't think he completely stayed away from them after that, but he definitely laid a little lower than he was with it.
I really would want to see, if they redid this season without the one world twist, what Colton would do on the beach with all these men.
We
that
saw
he didn't
it.
Want to socialize with.
We saw it in Blood versus Water. That's exactly what would have happened. That's what my thoughts are on that. God,
that was a travesty.
Yeah, we'll get to that much later. But okay, what else do I have here? All right, there's just some basic stuff. Let's get to the immunity challenge. This was a good one. I love this challenge, and it was comical. You remember it, the balance
Oh
beam?
yeah. And how just Cat. Cat.
This is when you really started to see what Cat was going to be like, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is the point where I think Monica got a really raw deal on this season. And I think I saw that even more on this rewatch of it. And this is the first point of the season of her short time on the show that I actually like started to see that. Like she kind of tried to like get her tribe to get their shit together in the challenge, and they actually started to do stuff at the end. It was just they set it up so horribly at the beginning that
they had Cat go first, which was an awful thing to do. And I feel like the men had no issues with this challenge. I don't think
they breezed through it. They had maybe a couple guys fall in the water at the most, but they handled it easily.
Yeah, they had Leaf go first. And like obviously,
it helps when you have a midget on your tribe, but I mean, they still had there were some big dudes there. They're like Jay and Matt and Michael, Troyzan and
Bill.
Tarzan's dad bod. Like there were some big. Colton's a bigger guy too.
But it's like also all the muscle dudes they had, like you said, with Matt, Mike, Jay, and Bill.
Yeah, it's not easy though to maneuver your way around when you got more going on. So like honestly, this challenge should have been an advantage for the woman, and they just didn't capitalize on it, I don't think.
Yeah, well, you could just pin it all on Cat. Cat was exactly what happened. Why the women lost that challenge.
Yeah,
she didn't even give them a chance.
And to me, Cat's also like this challenge is a classic example of if I'm ever on Survivor, I'm following this. Like if you ever are like contemplated with the idea thrown at your head of like you be the one to step up and like do the challenge, like you're putting yourself at risk to screw it all up for everyone. If you're in that situation, don't do it. Like don't be that person that has to do it, because I'd rather not be I'd rather like have not even gotten to me, been one of those women that was later on and just like blended in, than been the person that tried to go first and fucked it all up for everybody. Like she wasn't equipped to do that, and she should have got herself out of that position, I think.
I wonder if the women if any of them ever thought of this. How come, and once they realized that Cat was awful at this, how come they all just didn't jump in and make her go at the complete end of the beam?
Yeah, they could have done that. That would have been smart.
Or she would have just jumped it again.
Yeah, she screwed them so bad that they fell behind so early.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually at Kat's jury speech right now watching this. It's funny we were talking about her.
Yeah.
And that's actually a good one, so.
Yeah.
All right,
the only thing I didn't like in this episode, I think Nina got a raw deal. Like I get, like she was the outsider, but like with how bad Kat screwed up that challenge, she should have went home.
Yeah, Nina, Christina, and Monica all got a pretty shitty early. They all had it pretty shitty.
This 5-person women's alliance was made during the trek back to the camp.
Yeah, so it was Alicia, Kim, Chelsea, Sabrina, and Kat.
Yeah.
Yeah, they formed that early, and there was nothing else. It was only a 9-woman tribe. There was nothing else those people on the bottom could have done.
Mm-hmm.
And like Nina did what she could to save herself. Yeah. What do you think? She made a good effort, I think.
She did. But I was just talking about when we get to episode 4. But that whole shit show.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Kat basically realized how bad she fucked up that she would have been she would have understood if they voted her out that night, I think.
Well, I would have voted her out that night.
Yeah, so would I. But watching it, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I pretty much knew it was going to happen. I knew there wasn't any saving Nina, and that Kat was going to be fine, even though she completely blew the challenge.
Yeah.
There was a big emphasis on that early alliance, like you said, on the trek back. So I knew they weren't going to turn on each other, especially that early. All right. So episode 2 was okay, I would say, but it was worse than episode 1.
It was fine.
My favorite part was the immunity challenge, honestly.
Yeah.
It was just too funny.
Just like how the men have it like totally figured out from the beginning, and the women are just struggling because Kat can't do anything.
All right. So the next episode starts with the reward challenge pretty early. Do you remember this challenge, the memory one?
Yeah, Jeff had the curtain, and one of them could drop the curtain.
Yeah, I
and
really
the women blew out the men.
I really liked the challenge, but there was like, it was kind of a shit show. Like it was
the Tarzan versus Cat.
Yeah, that was kind of cringe. I want to say the same thing happened in Worlds. They did this challenge in Worlds Apart, I think.
Yeah, there was an immunity challenge in Worlds Apart, and like Kelly and Mike happened to do the same thing.
It was the same thing. It was even worse in Worlds Apart, I think. But
that Mike was also throwing that challenge.
Yeah, that's true. But they couldn't even get it. Like the tribe that wasn't throwing the challenge was still struggling. Yeah.
Mike was like trying to tell her what the order was, and she still wasn't getting it right.
Yeah. All right. So the women dominate that. And then I have that when they get back to camp, the weather's pretty shitty. Some of that Samoa seasons are like lots of rain.
Lots of rain.
Yeah. And like wind too, like it looks cold. The men and women at this point are arguing a lot, is what I've started to notice. There's a big emphasis early on, if you've noticed watching it, men versus women. Mm-hmm. Huge emphasis on it. And I think it's kind of foreshadowing how the rest of the game is going to turn out. And how
well, it also showed early on how quick the men were to get fire, and how the women had to keep coming over to ask for fire. They wanted to ask for shelter space. They wanted to ask to use the fire, and then they would just keep assuming that the men would just give, and then right when the men needed something, they wouldn't give it, but give it to them.
Yeah, it was kind of odd, but they couldn't get along with that, and definitely didn't help that later on when they swapped, that after they got to the merge, after the swap, that the women were more inclined to stay woman strong rather than Solani or Menino strong, 2.0 strong.
Yeah.
So I think some of this early arguing could have triggered some of that, to be honest.
It could have, yeah.
All right. So let's get to the immunity challenge.
This was a huge comeback for the women.
It was. And if I remember correctly, they were blindfolded and puzzle pieces.
Yeah, there's the blindfold challenge that get each bucket to get the puzzle pieces.
Yeah, and Sabrina and Bill were the callers, I think.
Yeah, so Bill had the men's puzzle pieces back very fast.
I think they both chose the perfect callers for this challenge too. Like that's always key. Like sometimes you see someone be the caller in the challenge and they just suck at it. But
yeah, now Bill and Sabrina were really good callers.
They were good. And at the end, when they did the puzzle, Sabrina ended up finishing it and pulling off the comeback. But I always find it interesting that when they're doing these puzzles, the rest of the tribe is allowed to help. Basically, like they can tell them where everything's going.
Well, Bill also had a giant time advantage on the puzzle.
He fucked
totally
up.
Blew it.
And Colton, this is where you start to really see
how much he doesn't like Bill.
How much he really does not like Bill at all.
I don't even get why he didn't like Bill.
It makes zero fucking sense whatsoever.
Because I liked Bill when I was watching the season.
So I was thinking the same thing. Bill got such a raw deal, and he seems like a good guy, and it was just fucked up how his tribe basically all bowed down to Colton, and no one stood up for Bill really, and it was just unfortunate.
Yeah, no, it was bad.
at least the CBS didn't make Bill look bad or anything, and that was good.
No,
but
they didn't.
They showed that he was like bullied and just walked over basically. And
they definitely painted that Colton was the bad guy there.
Yeah,
which he was.
All right, so at this point, I remember cutting.
We missed between the immunity challenge. Right before the immunity challenge, that was when the Misfit Alliance was formed of Colton, Jonas, Leaf, Tarzan, and Troyzan against the Muscle Alliance.
So it's Colton, Leaf, Tarzan, Troyzan, and Jonas. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Colton showed them all his idol that he had.
Yeah. All right. So after the challenge, I remember it before it cut to the commercial, you have Matt, who ironically goes home that night saying he's glad to be going to Tribal because he can't wait to make something happen.
That's the kiss of death if you're on Survivor. If you get that confessional, I'm so happy we're going to Tribal. I can't wait to go vote someone out. You're going home.
Yeah. It's horrible. All right, Kim just won. Guess I'll be watching the reunion show in a second. Anyways, yeah, so Colton also cannot wait to vote someone out. He is, how he is. He definitely wanted to stir some shit up, go to
and he wanted Bill out right away.
And he basically had the say in who was going to go home, but he did want Bill out right away. And he even went as far in his confessionals as to say that Bill was ghetto trash and he should kill himself, which this is really where I don't see how.
It's just unnecessary.
How did anyone, I don't think anyone was defending Colton at this point of him saying like slimy shit like that, like how he must have felt watching that afterwards. Yeah.
I just can't imagine like what Bill was feeling when he watched that. Like this is thing behind my back.
It's ugly. All right. So let's get to more towards what happens, because this is actually a little bit interesting, and it shows you how on your first time going to Tribal, how you could really shoot yourself in the foot, because Matt was not going to be the vote if he just kept his mouth shut and just chilled out. He would not have been the vote.
He definitely got the vote turned on himself, because it would have been Bill.
Yeah. So if I remember correct, all right. So Tarzan, Troyzan, Colton, Jonas, and Leaf were all five talking, deciding who they were going to vote out. They wanted to vote out Bill, and then
Colton wanted to vote out Bill. A couple other people wanted Matt.
Yeah, and then Jay interrupts the conversation, who is not in the alliance, and then Matt then enters the conversation, and Troyzan proceeds to say, "We're talking strategy." Or Tarzan. The fact that there's a Tarzan and a Troyzan, the names are always going to slip. But yeah, Tarzan basically tells Matt, "We're talking strategy," which is an odd thing to say to someone that is not in your alliance, and shows you how I feel about Tarzan as a player. But we'll get to him more later. But all right, so at this point, Matt is all over the place. He doesn't know about this alliance truly, because he's trying to get Troyzan to go with him, Jay, Jonas, and Mike. Meanwhile, Jonas is actually with Colton and them, and so is Troyzan.
I feel like Jonas this time I feel like was Colton's right-hand man.
Yeah, and I think Jonas, he went out too early for it to tell, and he kind of got himself voted out, which we'll get to later too. But I think early on in the game, I think he had his head in the game, I would say.
Yeah.
More than most of these people. All right,
so he got a raw deal at the merge. We'll get there.
Why do you think Matt went home? Like,
because he can't keep his mouth shut.
Okay. That's what I think.
If he had just sat back and realized there's nothing I can do, I'll be fine. Let me just keep my mouth shut and relax. He would have been safe. Bill would have went home.
Yeah. That's true. All right, so Colton's also at this point, I think, before Tribal, called out by Michael, I want to say, for spending too much time with the woman. So his own tribe is starting to get annoyed by it at this point, but his Misfit Alliance does not seem to really care.
Well, yeah, because he had the power.
Yeah. All right. So Matt gets voted out. I guess they spare Bill for one more vote. I have one thing to get to here, which I have never seen before, and I forgot about. I didn't realize it
Tarzan
the other day. Was when Tarzan asked if they could see the last two votes. Like,
that's when you know Tarzan's never seen Survivor before.
Exactly. That's exactly what that showed me. Literally, it was so bad. I've never heard that before. My initial thought on that was just, this guy is even weirder than I remember. All right, yeah. So let's get to the shit show that is episode 4.
This is my favorite episode on the whole rewatch.
This your favorite one?
Yeah. There's a close second down the line, which we'll get to, but like, I love this episode. Not that it's like built on strategy or whatever. It's just, it's a what the fuck when you watch it.
Yeah, it is. The stuff that Colton said to Bill just doesn't sit well with me. So that it's
an historic episode. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, for sure. A lot's going on, and you cannot say that about most of these episodes at all.
There's always something happening in this episode. Good, bad.
All right, so let's get to it. All right. So the reward challenge, they had a choice, I think. It was
sweets, it was a tarp, or it was comfort.
Items. And the woman won, and they didn't have a tarp, so they chose a tarp.
They took the tarp, yeah. Like the men had already had the tarp, so if they'd won, they would have picked one of the other two.
Yeah, which that makes sense, I guess. I mean, all right. After that, I have this. The men are starting to say the woman winning is luck, and that the tides are going to turn soon, I guess.
Well, you see it at the next Unity challenge.
Yeah. All right. So then we have Leaf telling Bill that the night before Bill was originally going to be the vote, and Bill was shocked. He had no idea. And this is where it really starts to go sour for Bill, because it gets back to Colton, and then Colton proceeds to attack Leaf's physical traits after that, saying like, "What is this Oompa Loompa doing?" or something like that. Like
Oompa Loompa, he called him a munchkin.
Yeah.
He was going to knock that munchkin back to Oz, was his exact quote.
He said that, yeah, he did. Oh, God. All right. So at this point, Colton's fed up with Leaf, but his hatred for Bill is still just...
overrules everything.
Yes. A lot. All right. So, all right, let's get to the immunity challenge, because after that is when this episode really starts. So the men pretty much dominate the challenge.
It was a blowout.
Leaf, I guess, redeems himself towards Colton by basically kicking ass in the challenge. Alicia really struggled in this one, I think, too. And yeah, so this is also when you see Alicia really start to have a repulsive attitude towards Christina. I think she made fun of her eyes or something. Like, there's just a lot of nastiness in this season. And
it really all stemmed from two people.
It's Alicia and Colton.
Yeah.
Everyone else is a fine person, I think, from this season. There's some bad players, but I don't think
there's no bad people besides those two.
I think those two are the only two true pieces of shit on this season. The rest of them are fine. But all right, so let's talk about the men win the challenge, and then they do the unthinkable. They decide to give up immunity.
Give up tribal immunity for no reason.
And all right, we can talk about why, but before we do that, I just want to say this was one of the dumbest things I think I've ever seen in Survivor. Like
100% agree.
It's pretty clear there's a men versus women division, and sending yourself to tribal, you are just you're going into a swap after this with even numbers. Like it just any of those men could have way more easily gotten swap screwed after this.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no. If the men don't give up immunity, I honestly think Alicia goes home if the women go to tribal.
Yeah,
I think they were really fed up with her after that challenge and how she was acting.
yeah, definitely a chance. But all right,
It would have been her, Christina.
So let's just talk about this. Why do you think people listened to Colton and decided to give up immunity?
I honestly
can't wrap my head around it.
I can't wrap my head around it either. Like, why are you giving this guy all the fucking power on your tribe?
I can't get over how mind-blowing this decision was. It was just horrible.
You have, I think Troyzan was told Tarzan about what happened with Bill, Leaf, and Colton, and told Tarzan like, oh, Colton wants to go to tribal to vote out Bill, and then Tarzan jumps on board. He wants to go to tribal to vote out Leaf for being a traitor.
Yeah,
and I feel like it was a lot of Colton and Tarzan leading the charge to go to tribal, but they were on different pages on who would go home at that tribal.
Yes, but ultimately, it's a 7-1 vote on Leaf. So
no, on Bill.
I mean on Bill. So ultimately, like Tarzan originally wanted Leaf, but he's willing to sacrifice Bill still, and it's just like, did they really need to give up immunity just to get Bill out? Like,
no.
What was Bill doing that deserved that? Like, this wasn't a Brandon Hance situation.
That is really the only time you ever give up immunity, if you have like a Brandon Hance on your tribe, like the favorites did in Caramelon.
Yeah, like that guy was a total cancer to his tribe. Like, it's completely different than what's going on here. All right, so let's get to tribal council. This is where Colton gets even nastier. Instead of calling him ghetto trash in his confessional, he's calling Bill ghetto trash to his face. I just heard it at the reunion. It's funny I'm saying it. He just called Bill ghetto trash. And then he said something about him being a comedian. And
yeah, he said stand-up comic and told him to get a real job.
Yeah, like, it's like, seemed like the guy was trying, and it's just bullshit how Colton treated him. And I don't know why he hated him so much.
I have no clue why either. And I will never know why like this was happening. Like why, like there had to have been like some sort of underlying reason on why his hatred for Bill was so much.
It will never.
I'm not making assumptions or anything, but there's got to be something there. There's no way that he just did not like Bill for absolutely no reason.
I'm actually at the reunion right now, so let me see if they're talking to Colton. Let me see if he says anything. He says was uncomfortable watching what he had to say.
Good.
Yeah, he said he was either going to be like the sweet Southern gay guy, or he was going to be quote unquote the bitch with teeth, and he decided to be the bitch with teeth.
This was overkill.
So yeah, and it's like, you can be the bitch with teeth, but not say like personal.
Don't just be a downright nasty person.
Personal attacks. Like, he called the guy ghetto trash, and that is just, it's not cool. The only other time we've ever seen that was who was it? Ben in
Survivor Samoa.
God, that guy was an asshole too.
Yeah.
That guy was a real asshole.
Yeah, he was one of those top-notch pieces of shit too.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so more on this tribal though. Yeah, so you got Tart. This is where I really like didn't like Tarzan. Later on, you see like nicer sides of him, but here he stood up for Colton and did not stand up for Bill. And then he had to bring racial thoughts into it, which I guess Colton was the one who initially did that when he said, Jeff asked if he had black people in his life, and he goes, like my housekeeper, like, which is just, even if that's true, why you don't say that, Colton?
And like, he laughed while he said it.
Yeah, he did. And it was horrible.
No, this whole thing was just terrible.
It was ugly. And then Bill gets unanimously voted out. And I'm sitting here thinking like, just what the fuck? Like, why did this happen?
Yeah, it was dumb.
It just shows you the level of gameplay / intelligence some of these guys had for just letting Colton just,
there you go. I got the number right up here,
run their tribe to the ground. 0. God. All right. So that episode's got a lot going on. And here is where the season really starts to plummet.
Yeah, at the swap.
All right. So let's get to the swap. All right. So the new Solani tribe, we got Kim, Sabrina, Chelsea, and Kat, which that's 4 people from their original alliance, plus got Troyzan, Jay, and Michael. And then on the Malolo, we got
Manano.
Malolo or Manano?
Manano.
It's Manano, you're right.
Malolo is from Ghost Island.
Yeah, you're right, it is. You're A+ with the tribe names. That's the one thing with me. I remember like most of them, but I can't always remember all of them. Some of them are so similar too. But anyways, there you got Christina, Alicia, Tarzan, Leaf, Jonas, Monica, and Colton. So the men have the numbers on this tribe.
And you can clearly see that Solani's winning every challenge.
Yes, they
have all the challenge strength.
Yeah,
Manano's best challenge competitor was Monica.
Yeah, they were not set up well after this swap. I could tell right away too who the more dominant tribe was, and we saw them. I think they won every challenge, didn't they?
Yep, they won all 3 challenges after the swap.
Reward and immunity.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here is where Colton and Alicia start to come together as the horrible people they are and start causing like mischief together.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be fair, this episode, it was mostly strategizing. It wasn't until the next episode where they really showed their piece of shit.
Yeah,
side.
I was just, you could see their connection right away.
Yeah. They were going to get along.
Work together. Yeah. And that they immediately showed cockiness, and Alicia basically said, screw the women. Like I'm going to come with the men. If it means, as long as I'm safe, it's whatever, which later in the game, once she lost Colton, she changed her mind on that. But it's just, I think she's the biggest hypocrite. It's like just in every way.
Yeah, no, she is.
I think I almost like her less than Colton.
That's tough. I just hate them both equally.
It's close, yeah. All right, so at this point let's get back to the Solani tribe, or over to the Solani tribe. This is where we finally start to see it. Takes 5 episodes, but what did you say earlier on? What episode did you realize Kim was
episode 5?
So let's let you run through what happens here.
So what happens is, like, when they're at their camp, and Kim gets a 4-person alliance of herself, Jay, Troyzan, and Chelsea. And I think they were going after Michael if they lost. But then Kim goes and finds the hidden immunity idol at camp, and then only tells Chelsea about it. And it's clear that she holds a lot of power on that tribe.
That's where they lock it in with each other. And Kim is proof that if you are good enough and you realize who to tell what to, or that you're smart enough, that people aren't smart enough to realize you're playing them, that you could successfully play both sides, which Kim did all game, and she was genius at it.
Yeah.
See it, and this is what this is only the second season I've watched since we started doing it, but I appreciated her game more than Boston Rob's game because I thought it was cool that she was able to. But Rob didn't really have to play all sides. He was kind of just in a dominant alliance that was never going to turn on him. Kim had every.
Kim had to put a lot more work in.
Kim had the people that she was not with at all, convinced that she was their number one. She had everyone in the room convinced.
Completely snowed.
It was her and them.
I was so impressed watching it again.
She's great. And some people have said she's not great in Winners at War, but I think she was actually pretty good.
She was good. Just from where she started, when we get to Winners at War, we'll talk about it more. But I was very impressed with how she played in that season.
Yeah. And she proved even though she was playing with idiots on this season, that she could play. She could play with the all-time greats and keep up. Mm-hmm. And another thing that just goes to prove how great Kim is she. I know we're talking about Winners at War a little bit now, but she was the only one she was the one who was smartest enough to realize that Tony was going to win the game, her and Sophie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get more into this episode. So Kim finds the idol, tells Chelsea, and then we get to the immunity challenge. And like we said, we know Solani's going to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Manano's going to tribal. And that's just going to be.
The writing's on the wall for Monica here. There's absolutely nothing she could have done about it. And
it just sucks watching it.
It was an odd choice to bring Monica back, but I mean,
why they did it.
She made the final. It was because of Brad.
Yeah, they wanted Brad on Survivor.
But let's be honest. I know she only got one vote in the end, but I think Monica played a pretty good game in Blood versus Water.
Mm-hmm.
She proved she's a worthy player. I mean, she was never going to win unless she was against maybe I don't even know who she would have beaten because
I don't know who she was beating. She would have beaten Jervis.
She would have beaten Jervis in a final 2. If it's a final 3 with Sierra, her and Jervis, I think Sierra wins.
Once you get to final 6, once it's Hayden, Tina, and Laura on Redemption, I think any of those people left besides Jervis beats Monica in a final 3.
Yeah, I agree.
Hayden would, Tina would, Laura would, Sierra would, and Tyson would.
Maybe she beats Katie and Jervis if that's the final 3.
Yeah, but that was never happening.
That wasn't going to happen. Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, yeah, Monica got a raw deal this season, and I obviously we weren't dying to see her back, but she did pretty well.
I was upset when she got voted out because I'm like, she didn't deserve this.
Yeah, it was rough. The men should have voted out Alicia. I was rooting so bad for her to go home, and the fact that I said I knew Kim won, but I really didn't know who else went far in the season at all. I didn't know anything about it, and I thought she was going early. The way she was treating people and how cocky her edit was early on, I didn't think she was going to make it as far as she did.
Yeah, no, I did not enjoy watching Alicia all season.
All right, so episode 6. This is the end of Colton Cumbie.
His reign of terror.
But I could honestly say you never want to be satisfied with a medevac, but
he got what was coming to him.
He absolutely got what was coming to him. And like you said, did we miss out by not having him at the merge?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Big time.
It would have been more entertaining. So as much as in the moment you wanted to see Colton get what was coming to him, it's still just he would have brought more to the table post-merge than a lot of these people.
Well, if we're going under the assumption that Solani was going to win that next challenge, they were going to go to tribal, Christina was going home.
Yeah.
If Colton doesn't get medevaced.
Oh yeah, and then see how it worked out for her. She almost made the damn end of the game. But so let's get back to
the whole season changes. Like if he's the one, if he makes merge instead of Christina, then it's a 7-5 men's advantage. But who knows what the hell Colton's going to do?
Colton's not going to stick with the men, I don't think. But he also, if Colton was around long enough, I could see him being able to have enough say to swing people against Kim. Whereas none of those other men had enough of a voice to be able to do stuff like that.
Or enough power.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so after Monica's voted out, they cut to the back to the Monano tribe, where Colton and Alicia are just gloating to Christina. They are so unnecessarily telling her, like, you're going home next. There's nothing you could do. Like, what were you saying?
We left you out of this vote. You're going home. Ha ha. That's basically
what it is. And if I can remember correctly, I think Colton said, like, go jump in the fire or quit the game or something like that.
You have 3 options. You can get voted out, you can quit, you can jump in that fire, whichever is more convenient for you. That was his exact quote.
Yeah, see, and he just continues to be cocky, and just now it's not just Bill who's getting shit from him.
Now it's Christina.
It's her who's taking the abuse now. And
it didn't help that Alicia was sitting right there, and she made it clear she did not like Christina either.
Christina's another one. She's not a good. We didn't see enough from Bill.
She's an awful player. Christina.
Bill might have been an okay player. Christina's an awful player, but she seems like a nice lady.
She did not deserve any of the shit she got, but she like the personal shit like from Colton or Alicia, but she was an awful player.
Yeah. And that's even more power to Kim, that she didn't need to take the GOAT at the end to win. Like, she could take the stronger 2 players in Sabrina and Chelsea and still get almost every vote. Yeah. That's just, I love that. When you're confident enough that you can beat anybody and you don't have to take the GOAT to the end.
Yeah. That's pretty badass. But
see, if I in an org, if I have the chance to take a friend to the end and I think I could like beat them, or at least to be fair, I would do it. But if I'm playing for $1 million, I'm not risking it. I am taking the GOAT to the end 1,000% of the time. Like,
oh, for $1 million, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, so like if you're doing what Kim did, like, you are hella confident.
I'm cutting Sabrina at 4 and I'm taking Christina.
Ballsy. Yeah, exactly. Like, you never know. You never know what that jury's thinking. So that's just more power to Kim, though.
Like, honestly, if I was actually Kim, I would have cut Chelsea at 5 and Sabrina at 4 and taken Alicia and Christina to the end, because I think they would both be easy beats.
Oh, easily. But they were actually like, with Chelsea, there was like some sort of talk later on that people were saying, like, Chelsea, the men on the jury love Chelsea. Like, she could get the jury votes. Like, Kim had something in her head that Chelsea was her, not Sabrina, but Chelsea was her biggest competition to win the game.
And then Chelsea ends up getting no votes.
Exactly. But like, I'm saying, from watching, I literally just watched the episode like before I hopped on with you, and they were literally like, Kim was saying that she thought Chelsea was her biggest competition, but she was still going to risk taking her to the end because she knew she could beat her, and they had a friendship since day one. So they were really close, though.
Yeah, they were.
They weren't going to turn on each other. All right, so let's get back to episode 6. I know we backtracked a little bit. So, we have Colton. A lot of it early episodes basically just focused on Colton continuing to be an ass to Christina and Alicia joining in. And then I think the last half of this episode was all centered around Colton's medevac.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it starts out with him actually getting medevaced. He takes the idol with him, and then they send the tree mail to both. Well, hold on. Before we get into the rest of this, Colton's idol. Did you see what Colton actually wanted to do with the idol?
Didn't he? He didn't give it to anybody, but did he keep? He kept it for himself as a souvenir, right?
Yeah, he had wanted to give the idol to Jay on the other tribe.
Yeah.
But they told him because he's on the other tribe, he couldn't do it. He had to give it to someone on his current tribe or take it out of the game with him. So he took it out of the game with him.
Yeah. He didn't want to give Alicia an idol, which honestly, I'm glad he didn't give her I'd rather him leave with it and just forget about Colton than him give it to another player I equally dislike. So
yeah, I would have liked if he gave the idol to Jay.
Oh, it would have been interesting for sure.
But and it could have changed things, but it also means that Troyzan probably wouldn't find the idol that he found in the next episode.
That's true.
So then after Colton gets medevac, the next day they get tree mail for both tribes and it says, there's no challenge, but you're going to tribal.
Yep.
And so I think both tribes assume they're voting somebody out, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think on Solani, I think it was Michael who was going home.
It was
voted. And on Manano, it was going to be either Christina or Alicia.
Yeah. So this is when
Jonas picked up Christina and said, I'm going to make a power move now. I want Alicia out of this game. Tarzan wouldn't do it. So Tarzan and Jonas were both begging to Leaf to do either Christina or Alicia that night. And I don't know if Leaf ever made up his mind.
Yeah. I think this is when the people on that tribe were starting to turn on Alicia. And I mean, I still think it probably would have been Christina if that tribe had gone to tribal because they were some soft players and they always just played it safe and went with the safe vote.
Well, so Jonas was voting Alicia. It was literally up to Leaf.
Yeah, and I think Leaf would have made the cowardly move. Yeah, I do. But anyways, it didn't happen. And they did what they did the first episode where Courtney was medevac, or they sent him to tribal. And then they weren't actually going to tribal, but they merged them at tribal, which I thought was interesting. You would probably could remember more correctly than I would. You know more than I do. So what do you think? Is this the only time they've done that where they merged them?
They merged the tribal council, yeah.
It's the only time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought so. I wasn't totally sure, though.
Because usually the merge is at like the beginning of an episode.
Yeah.
This was the first time they merged at the end of an episode.
Yeah, it's strange. See, like when I was watching it, I just binged them. So I was like, oh, move on right on the next episode. But I could imagine in live time that being weird, like seeing I could imagine it being weird seeing like them merge and then you have to wait another week to see like the strategy.
Yeah, I didn't like how they did it, but
it's strange.
And also they had to have their merge feast in the middle of the night. Like right after they got back from tribal, they had a merge feast.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to the merge episode. I think generally in seasons, the merge episode should be one of the better episodes, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Do you agree? Mm-hmm. In most seasons, the merge episode is pretty good. And here,
not this.
Yeah, it's
so bad.
It's pretty bad. And it just shows you how the rest of the game is going to go. God, Kim played this geniusly too. She played this off so well. She basically fooled Troyzan into believing that, like, what was it that I'm trying to correctly find what I'm blanking here. Did she get Troyzan to want to like turn on the men? Or all of them, basically.
You're thinking of the next episode.
Okay, that was the next. All right, I'm blanking here.
This was more Jonas was the big. They wanted an original Manano person out, and they knew Jonas was the biggest threat from that tribe. And the only resistance they were getting was Tarzan is such a bad person around camp to keep around, and him, Leaf, Christina, and Alicia do nothing. And Jonas is the cook. Jonas does all the work. Jonas does a lot of work at camp. So do you really want to get him out, even though he's clearly the biggest threat out of those 5 people?
Yeah, so now I'm remembering it better. They thought that Jonas was the bigger threat, and that was more important than what he provided around the camp. And at this point, the women were together. All of them were together, but they were still the Solani 2.0 was
versus
still
Banana
convinced.
2.0.
Yeah. So, but wasn't Solani 2.0 still convinced that it was a Solani versus Manano thing rather than a men's versus women's thing?
Because it wasn't until the next episode that the women realized, hey, we can run this, and then it wasn't until the episode after where people caught up.
So, in my opinion, even though this wasn't a good episode, this is where like the men didn't stand a chance after this. Like they should have realized right away that if you vote out a man here, you're done. Your game's over. There was no coming back from it.
That's how good Kim is, though.
She had some of those men in her pocket for literally no reason. They had no reason to trust her, and they did. She had them fooled. All right, so with this Jonas vote, who did Jonas try to flip the vote on?
Michael.
He tried to flip it on Michael.
And he thought Michael was the biggest threat in the game.
Yeah, and he basically went down in flames at Tribal. Like, he was basically throwing Michael's name out there, right? He was saying, like...
Yeah, him and Tarzan had a nice... Yeah, him and Tarzan had a couple blow-ups this episode.
They had a major blow-up before that, and I think that at this point, we saw it later on too. I wrote this down, but Chelsea doesn't like Tarzan at all, and she actually wants him out instead of Jonas, but she's doesn't have enough of a say, obviously, to get who she wants.
Yeah, Kim has all the say.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess this shows you Leaf was going to be loyal to Jonas, because Leaf is the only person
who voted Michael with him.
Voted to save Jonas, yeah. Yeah, so what do you think of Jonas? You think he got a raw deal, like you said?
I think he did, but like, I'm also not clamoring to see Jonas return to Survivor.
Yeah, he's not coming back. No.
And it's like, I don't want to see him back, but it's like, could he have done better? Yeah, and I think he did get a little jobbed.
Yeah. Whereas if he was on, say you reverse Troyzan and Jonas, and Jonas lands on Solani 2.0, he gets 8th place instead of 12th place.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, you can't say Troyzan was going home because Troyzan won immunity in that challenge. So.
Oh, no, I know, but I'm just saying, like, if...
Jonas doesn't go home at that point.
If Jonas got swapped to Kim's tribe, he probably would have stayed a couple more votes after the merge, is what I'm saying. But ultimately, definitely. He was never getting better than like 8th place. The only man that got better than 8th place was freaking Tarzan. God. Oh. Yeah, this was maybe the worst. I wouldn't say it's the worst casting, because I actually do think a lot of the women were interesting, but I think it's the worst casting for men in a Survivor season.
Yeah. There's only like
they were all in the same tribe.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
There was a couple of the men I wanted to see back, and then one of them came back, which was Tarzan.
Who was the other one?
I would have loved to have seen Jay come back.
Jay was all right. He didn't do too much for me, and like he was all right, I said, but like there's similar archetypes to him that
who are much better players.
Exactly. Like, he's not even the best Jay from that archetype.
Yeah.
Like, Jay Starrett is
from Millennials versus Gen X is way better.
Like, way better. It's not even close. I love Jay too. We'll get to that later. The other Jay. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Let's get into this next episode.
All right. So yeah. All right. This is where Kim is really screwing with people.
Mm-hmm.
Really screwing with people. But beginning of this episode, this caught my eye right away. And Jay and Troyzan, who are the two smartest men left in the game at this point, are smart enough to catch on that they might have just made a huge mistake. That like the women are about to pick them off one by one.
Mm-hmm. They need to get a girl out next. Doesn't matter which one it is, one of them has to go.
And watching it, that's not happening. Like I feel like a lot of what's wrong with this season is it's just way too fucking predictable. And that's a common theme in the bad season of Survivor.
In this dark age of Survivor, it's very predictable.
Very, very predictable. All right, so I have a very weird thing that I wrote down here that I noticed, and I do not remember this when I first watched it at all for some reason. But Tarzan asked Chelsea if she holds a grudge against him because
he's a plastic surgeon.
The plastic surgeon, and she isn't happy with her breast implants. That's just Tarzan in a nutshell. I don't know what else to say.
I can't even imagine what Chelsea was thinking at that second. She had to think like, what is wrong with you, dude?
Yeah, he is he's a weird dude. And the fact that he's a surgeon too is even weirder. Like he looks like someone that would have like a blue collar job when you look at him like out on the islands. Like
that he's a doctor.
I would not think he's a doctor at all. Especially someone that calls himself Tarzan. Like you're like
Dr. Tarzan.
It doesn't add up. Man, some of the doctors they've had on the show are horrible too. Like Mick, I think, was a doctor.
He was a doctor.
Sean from season 1, horrible.
Peter from Coral.
Yeah, Peter was a doctor, right? Anyone else? I'm trying to think. There might be a couple other ones, but Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike was the best one, probably.
Yeah, I like Dr. Mike.
He's definitely I would say the best player out of them. But all right, anyways, getting back to it. Chelsea at this point hates Tarzan. God damn it. I did it again. And she wants him out so bad, but she knows there are bigger threats, and he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't believe the snow job that Kim pulled on Jay and Tarzan in this episode.
Oh, it's so bad. So she basically she knows that it would be smart for them to want a woman out next, but she feeds into Troyzan's ego and tells him that Michael's saying like he's the biggest threat to win and that they got to get Michael out. Mm-hmm. And he's buying it right away.
Yeah. As much as I like Troyzan and much credit I give him, this was just, dude, you got fooled so bad.
Oh, it was really bad. And Jay ultimately, I think like he's realizing that they're about to get picked off one by one a little bit before Troyzan is, which is kind of ironic because I think the next episode after it's the opposite where Troyzan knows they're screwed and then Jay's the one getting played that time. But Jay had immunity this time.
Jay had immunity this time, yeah.
He just wasn't too worried about it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But also before the challenge even started, that was when Kim put it in Tarzan's head, like, hey, Tarzan, Michael's going after you. And he was like beforehand, all right, Michael's losing immunity, he's going home. And then Michael loses the immunity to Jay and Michael goes home.
Yeah, and I think this is about as easy as a vote as it could have been. And Kim even, like, I think before Tribal, she told Michael and Jay that they're going to vote for Christina. And I think that I don't know if they fully believed it, but she was definitely sort of convincing. Because I remember this is where Kim had been shining for a little while, but this is like where I really started to say, like, this Kim's even better than I thought she was. Like she's a real fucking player.
Yeah. And she showed the stranglehold she had in the game.
Oh, she had the game in the palm of her hands. And I actually, like, I'm not positive, but I don't think Kim was like a huge Survivor fan or anything coming in either. She might have.
I'm not sure.
I don't know if she had never seen the show, but like, because I know for a fact Parvati was a recruit. She had never seen the show. And I want to say Kim is the same thing. And she's got some great game awareness, if that's the case, for someone that had never seen the show before. Either way, she's impressive.
So good.
All right. So Michael is voted out. And then we get to the boring pagonging. It's already started, but this is right in the heat of it.
It slaps you right in the face. Like, yeah, all these guys are getting picked off.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious it was about to happen. And we didn't have any doubles here either.
No, there's no doubles all season.
It's not like Redemption Island where we had a double
multiple double boots.
Yeah, and in a boring season, the double boots, like, to me, they help. Like,
of course it does, because
it basically knocks out kills two birds with one stone in an episode. Like, you have two predictable boots instead of one predictable boot in an episode, and there's no need for us to see like hour-long episodes like when we know who's going home. Like the freaking double boot really helps like add to make the pagonging a little bit more interesting. Like the ones in Redemption Island and South Pacific, like they happen a little bit quicker than this season because of the double boots.
Pagonging in South Pacific to me is my favorite because it's literally done in 2 episodes.
So quick, and that's why it's a lot more bearable than this one to me.
Yeah.
This was
it's so dragged out because it's literally all right, the guy's going home. Which one is it? Oh, okay, it's Jay this time. There's a guy going home the next job. Who is it? Okay, this time it's Leaf. And then it's down to Tarzan and Troyzan. If between the two of them, if they're both not immune, you know who it's going to be.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to it. We could get through this one kind of quickly. There was not.
We can get through a few of these quickly.
There's not too much going on in this episode.
Yeah, no. The only thing that happens is my favorite Survivor challenge. When it rains.
And they have temptations with food. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Well, the when it rains challenge always has the food temptations with it. It's usually such an easy challenge. Just stand there, keep your hand up, because you're always allowed to hold it up with the other hand to try to make it easier.
Yeah, I like it. It's definitely not the most exciting challenge, but I like that they bring food. It's a classic. Into it. And it's definitely a classic. I remember when James dropped in Micronesia, I think.
Oh my God, this challenge in Micronesia was so cool.
So funny.
Every time it's like, but then when Jeff brings out the food, Alexis just drops her hand. He's like, "Oh, Alexis, you didn't say you wanted it, so you don't get it." And she goes and pounce all the way, and James is like, "Oh, that would suck."
Yeah.
And his bucket falls on him.
Yeah, it's funny. All right, so I also have here that so Jay says she wants Alicia out, and the woman lie to him and say they're on board. And this is where he's like starting to believe them, and Troyzan's smart enough to not believe them.
He's like, I have an idol, I'm playing it. Let's vote Kim out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there goes Jay, and he runs it right back to Kim. Hey, Kim, Troy's got an idol. He's playing it. He's voting for you tonight.
God, yeah.
And then she's like, shit, and scrambled, and like, okay, we're voting Jay out.
Yeah, so this ironically, is really sad. I think Jay's not a good player.
No, well, he was going home regardless. It just ended up being he got the majority of the votes instead of him going home only because Troy played his idol.
Yeah. And this was pretty, like, Troyzan has to play the idol in this situation, like anyone would have.
Turns out he didn't need to, but I would have played it if I was him.
Oh, absolutely. You had to. There's no risking it at that point. He may have wasted it, but...
Well, if Jay hadn't said anything, he would not have wasted it because Troy would have been going home.
Yeah, that's true. And let's also say though, like if you in any game, any season of Survivor, anytime you have a chance to do it, if you can split the votes, you do it. I think we talked about this last episode, but like if you have enough people that you know are voting with you, you have to split if you have the chance to do it.
Definitely.
And this is a example of that, where things could have went south if they didn't split and they played the idol for the correct person. So yeah, all right. So then getting to the next episode, this is where Troyzan kind of starts to annoy me. Like he's this whole like, I guess he's so far on the bottom. It's Troyzan versus everyone, but like he then ends up winning one immunity challenge and screams like, "This is my island." Like it's like, bro.
He screamed that before he even won the challenge.
Yeah. He said it was his island before he won the challenge. When it was him. Yeah, and it's like
when he got to the final round, he screamed it, and then when he beat Tarzan in the final round.
Yeah. And it's just like, come on, dude. You are so far on the bottom. The last thing you should be doing is being cocky here. It's just, I wouldn't say it's a bad look. Like Troyzan's not a bad guy, but it's like, it's just.
He's not, but it's just, come on, dude. Like you need to start making allies and friends with these people.
Yeah, it's kind of cringe, I think, too, a little bit at times. And like, this is I think one of the worst episodes, because once he wins immunity, the writing is like so far on the wall for Leaf to go home, and Leaf didn't give us anything this season. He was invisible. Like, how many confessionals do you think he got? Like 7 or 8, maybe? 5?
I don't even think he got that many. Jeez. Like, I don't even remember. Like, he didn't even get a confessional in his boot episode.
Yeah, he did.
Like, all you saw of him was he got a protein shake and bananas at the auction.
Yeah. I would say he's the least memorable person on the season, but unfortunately, I do remember him more because he's a midget and he's the only one who's ever been on the show. So like
the only little person to ever be on.
To me, he's a little more memorable than Michael or Matt, or even honestly, even Jay's pretty like not memorable to me.
Yeah.
I would say Michael's the most unmemorable, though, I would say.
Michael's totally forgettable.
Out of the men that make the merge, he's the most forgettable one.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, at this point, though, when Leaf goes home, Troyzan makes the correct play. He tells the girls that are on the bottom that it's Kim, Sabrina, Chelsea, and Kat, and that if Alicia and Christina were smart, that they would come with the guys and make a move. And
he told Kat that Kat was on the bottom.
He told Kat she was on the bottom
because Kim had won the touchy subjects challenge,
and she took
Chelsea and Alicia
on their reward. Yeah, that's right.
So he went back to camp and told Kat, "Hey, you're on the bottom of that group. You should come with me."
Yeah, I think I want to say that's the next episode, though, right? That's the Troyzan boot episode.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, this is after Leaf has been voted out. We're getting there, and yeah, Kat was really upset that Kim didn't take her on the reward. I do remember that.
Kat. It's just.
So tell me this, because this is how I feel. If you're ever on Survivor, I would not want to win this reward. Like, I would hate being the person that has to choose other people to bring with me. It's social suicide. It's like, it's just.
Yeah, no, I would not want to win these.
Especially when you're in such a good spot like Kim is, and you are in so good with everyone. There's no way that you're not going to be hurting someone by winning this reward.
Well, technically, she didn't really have much of a choice because it was touchy subjects, and no one wanted to get her out.
Yeah.
That challenge, like she knew she was going to win it.
Yeah, and I think the touchy subjects with the chops oftentimes reveal pecking orders too. Like, So like I think you got to be smart about doing that, but they're not always. A lot of the time, the people that are closest, it's revealed in that challenge, and there's just nothing other people could do about it. But Troyzan uses Kim's choices for who she wanted to take with her to shake things up, and his head's in the right place here. But like we said, it's too late.
Yeah, there's nothing he could do. He was gone the second he lost immunity.
Yeah, already wasted an idol. He was badly bluffing an idol, I think. Like, wasn't he walking around with like a bulge in his pocket? Like,
yeah, he was trying to fake that he had one.
Yeah, it wasn't even a good fake either. And he was 8th place as soon as he voted out Jonas, I think.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they voted out Jonas, they were screwed. There was nothing they could have done.
Yeah, no. Kim had them by the balls, literally.
Actually, I'll argue that again. This goes as far back as to them throwing or giving away immunity in episode 4.
Get rid of Bill.
That changed everything. It just, I can't stress enough how stupid that was. It's just
extremely stupid.
Yeah. All right, so then Troyzan actually makes a last-ditch effort to get votes on Christina because Christina is kind of being sketchy at this point. Like she's telling, they're splitting on. They're gonna split on Christina.
And in case Troyzan actually had
the idol, and I guess Christina's skeptical about it, so she tells Troyzan, and then Troyzan goes back to the girls and tells them that Christina's saying this just to try to flip the majority on her. But it was a good effort by Troyzan, but it didn't work.
All he needed was one vote because he found out Christina told him, like, oh, Sabrina and Tarzan are voting for me. And so he's like, really? And she said, like, oh, I want to vote Chelsea out. And so she votes for Chelsea. Troyzan realizes that there's 2 people voting for Christina. If he votes for Christina, all he would need was one more vote. And so he went to go to try to find that 4th vote from Kat. And he tried, but Kat wasn't doing it.
No. All right. So next, after Troyzan goes home, we get to probably my favorite episode of the season. I don't know if it's yours too. It is.
This one's good.
Is it your favorite one?
Yeah, probably.
I didn't hate the finale either.
Yeah, the finale was all right.
It was predictable, but like you had the interesting decision who Kim was going to go to final 3 with. She basically had her choice. So, but anyways, let's get to, what is it, episode 12?
Yeah. The infamous Kat episode.
Yeah. So this is where Kat was always she wasn't purple, but she was kind of like a background, like quirky character. And then this episode, they really plan to like make Kat center stage. Like everything's about Kat. So we start off with the loved one. Do you remember Kat and her cousin?
Oh my God, it was so weird.
It was one of the weirdest things, I think, in the show. Like we had them like crawling at each other, making cat noises. Like
she got down on all 4s to crawl to him, and they were like talking in their own fucking language.
The only thing I could think of that was that weird was Greg in Borneo. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, with his
sister, I think it was. I don't know.
I think it was his sister, yeah.
That was weird. I think that's the only thing I could say is on par with this. It's bad.
Well, what's even worse is her decisions she made later.
Yeah. So Kat wins reward.
Well, before the reward challenge even happens, like when they get the sprint phone with all the videos of the loved ones, Sabrina says in her confessional, like, it should be Tarzan. Whoever wins it should take Tarzan and Christina on this reward because of their loved ones and they hadn't been on rewards in so long. And so when Kat wins the challenge, you're thinking like, okay, is she actually going to do like what Sabrina foreshadowed? First person she picks, Kim.
who didn't take her on the last reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next one she gets another chance and she immediately picks Alicia.
I think that Kat likes Kim a lot more than Kim likes Kat, if you ask me.
Yeah, 100%.
It's kind of a one-sided friendship, I would say.
Mm-hmm. I
think they're actually good friends now. I
probably now, yeah. But
I follow Kim on Instagram. I think she posts with Kat before. Mm-hmm. Kat looks completely different now too. She's got like long hair. She's actually more attractive now, I think, than she was when she was on the show. But
I haven't seen a picture, so I can't say anything.
I'm telling you, she is for sure. She looks a little different, but anyways, all right. Getting back to this, Kat picks.
So Kim realizes too, like how dumb of a decision it was for Kat to do that, because everyone except Kat realizes like it should have been before the challenge started. It should have been Tarzan and Christina going reward, no matter who won it.
Yep, and even with like. You kind of started to see it before, but this is where you really start to see that Kim has final threes everywhere. Like while they're on that reward, Kat and Alicia think that Kim is their final three. They think that's the final three. Yeah. Meanwhile, Kim, Sabrina, and Chelsea have a final three. Mm-hmm. It's just everyone's riding Kim.
Kim had her hand in everyone's cookie jar that season, and she was stealing all the cookies out of it.
Yeah.
But like I remember, because when Kat chose when she chose Kim and Alicia for her reward, and she's like, I know people might not like it, but I wanted to hang out with these two forever. Yeah. And I'm like, this was the wrong time. Like, and I'm sure this was a huge factor in why she went home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so too. And this was like the one. I'm trying to think. Was this the only blind side of the whole season?
I think so, yeah.
I think it was. Redemption Island, how many blind sides do we have then?
Matt twice.
And then maybe Grant.
And Andrea.
Yeah. So there was more in Redemption Island than there were here. I think this season's even more. That season was predictable, but I think this season's even more predictable.
Yeah, you can definitely make that argument.
It's tough. It's like picking hairs. Like it's so close. Like they're both so predictable.
Yeah, they both suck.
But all right. So if I could remember correctly, though, this was Sabrina's vote. It was not Kim's call, really. Kim kind of just rolled with it.
Kim wanted Sabrina out on this vote.
Yes, and she had the choice, basically. Kat or Sabrina. Kind of. They all voted for Kim.
I think Kat was going home regardless. I think Kim just jumped on board because she realized that she couldn't get Sabrina out. Mm-hmm. Because I think like Sabrina and Chelsea and Alicia were all going to vote for Kat, and they had Christina and Tarzan on board.
And I think, yeah. So Kim basically
Kim gave in on that vote and got rid of Kat. Mm-hmm.
I guess Kim knew she had all the power, so she's like, for this one vote, more power to Sabrina. Like, let her think she's running the game, but I'm running the game.
Yeah, no, this one was 100% Sabrina's call.
But I will say that Sabrina's a worthy runner-up, and she's a good player.
I would have loved to have seen her actually get on second chance.
She should have gotten another chance. She's the one person who hasn't played from this season again that I
would love to see again.
I think there's a chance we could see her still. Like I wouldn't call that out. Like
we got her on second chance instead of Monica Padilla.
Yeah. Disgrace, but should have gotten T-Bird, but that's just me. But,
that too, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, all right. So Kim wins her second straight immunity now. Mm-hmm. So not only
Kat's begging her to give it to her.
Yeah. Not only is Kim dominating like socially and strategically. Now she's dominating challenges too. So it just shows how well-rounded of a player she is. I think this is the one vote where, like, I mean, as a viewer, you kind of knew Kat was going home, but when I was watching it the first time, I remember I actually, for a little bit, thought there was a chance that Sabrina was going home that night. So, like, they kind of left it open for a little bit. And most of this season, they didn't leave it open. Like, it was pretty obvious who was going home. But this episode, there was a little more back and forth.
Yeah, no, I just from my perspective, I knew Kat was going home. Like the whole time, I'm like, I don't see how you're focusing this entire episode on Kat. There's no way it's not Kat. There's no way Kat's not going home.
Yeah, the edit really, like, I wouldn't say they made Kat look horrible, but they definitely
they pointed out her flaws.
They made her show that she didn't have the life experience that some of these people had to, like, keep up with the game socially and strategically. And
and just remember, even when Kat lost the challenge, and that was like Kat dropped so Kim could win, and like Kim's kind of like, oh, good job, Kat, and then Kat's like ignoring her because she's so mad. I'm like, that's just such a bad look.
Yeah, she's definitely a little immature.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but
and it seemed the only one on the tribe giving her a pass was Tarzan for it.
Yeah. She also didn't see this coming, though. Like, she was at tribal saying how blindsides are fun and exciting.
And then she got blindsided.
You could just see them all sitting there like, oh shit, she has no idea. No idea.
It was so that was part of what made this episode just great. Like, she had no clue she was getting blindsided. Oh, blindsides are always fun and exciting. Like, it's like, and it's just so. I'm just like, oh my god, like you're in for a rude awakening.
And she left in tears too.
Because I remember watching the Ponderosa videos at that time too. I remember when she got there, she just collapsed into Troyzan's arms because he's like standing there waiting for her.
I haven't watched the Ponderosa from this season. I watched most of them from the 30s, but some of the older ones I didn't watch. But some of them are. How do you feel about Ponderosa videos? If you want to get into that,
do you like them? I like them sometimes.
I like them. The Kagayan ones were so good, like so good.
The Heroes versus Villains ones were great.
Yeah, I've seen them too. They're good. The Winners at War, I know it wasn't conventional because of, like, the edge of extinction.
They all got there on day 36.
It was pretty interesting, I thought. They all looked like Ethan looked like he was about to die. Like, he was so skinny. Danny, I think too. They both looked like they were about to die.
Oh, Danny looked like Skeletor.
All right, so ultimately, Kat is blindsided, and we have down to our final 6, where it seems like this is finally Tarzan's time, and it was.
Yep.
And he started scrambling this episode.
And I actually thought what he did wasn't a bad idea. Like, going to Kim and going to Alicia saying, you guys can go to, you 3 and Christina can go to 4 with me.
And he could be the final juror, and he'll talk them up to the jury.
But the issue was he told both Kim and Alicia, and then they ended up comparing notes.
And it was probably always going to be Tarzan this episode.
That just sealed his fate.
But, like, he shouldn't have told both of them that. He should have told one of them that. He should have told Kim that and let her think about it because she had all the power. But he never should have mentioned anything to Alicia, because when he said something to her, that just huge red flag for Kim. And when Kim sees a red flag, you go home.
Yeah,
it's like simple as
that.
Also,
I didn't like this move from Alicia either. Like, getting rid of Tarzan here is not the right move.
They should have. Who won immunity this time?
Alicia did.
Alicia, she did. Yeah. Okay.
If I was Alicia, I would have made
Alicia made a bad move here. I think if her, Christina, and Tarzan had targeted one of those three and went to rocks or something, this would have been a much more interesting finish to this season.
Well, I think their target was Chelsea, I remember, because Alicia and Christina were mad that Chelsea took Kim on the reward instead of Christina.
Yeah. And what do you think? You think a rock draw would have been, and you think they would have went to rocks?
I have no idea. Like, I don't know. Like, would Kim risk going to rocks that late in the game for Chelsea? Would Christina risk going to rocks for Tarzan?
Yeah, that's a tricky thing. I think like Kim was in such a good spot, she didn't need to go to rocks, but
Kim was getting to the final three no matter which way she picked.
Exactly.
So I think Kim would have cut Chelsea loose.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was a bad move on Alicia because I think Alicia might have had a chance to cut Kim at some point if she keeps Tarzan and Christina around. Like, she wouldn't have gotten the chance because Kim won the next two challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But she would have given herself a chance to eventually take Kim out.
Yeah, it was. They just went with the easy vote, but if Alicia wanted any shot to win the game, which she probably didn't have one anyways, because
she had to go to rocks.
She had to go to rocks. Imagine this season with an Alicia, Tarzan, and Christina final three.
It's worse than Redemption Island.
Way worse.
I don't even know who. I guess you'd get an Alicia win at that point.
Tarzan would have won, I think.
Tarzan?
Too many men on the jury, I think. I think Tarzan would have won.
I don't know how many of those men actually like Tarzan, though.
He would have been. I don't think they hated him.
I remember when he was going out, Michael gave him this on his way out.
No, you're right. He did. And I mean, he did kind of cop out his game just to work with the woman just to get a few spots further. So they might have not liked that either.
Yeah,
God,
who knows?
Who would have won that final three?
I want to know.
We don't even want to know.
I kind of do. Like, would it have actually been Alicia or Tarzan? Because it was not going to be Christina.
Yeah, but I think Alicia was just such a jerk, though. Like, I mean, I don't know if she was that horrible to like some of those people. It's funny, the person she was most horrible to was Christina, who she ended up being aligned with like the rest of the game, but it's just like
so weird.
I don't know how she would have gotten votes at the end. That would have been a horrible final three, though. Horrible.
Oh, absolutely.
The worst ever by far.
Mm-hmm. But we can move on because that didn't happen.
All right. Let's get to the finale. So.
And I'm sorry, this finale to me is these two votes are very predictable.
Yeah. I mean, you had Kim in the middle, basically. She was really always with Sabrina and Chelsea, but she could have decided to go with Christina and Alicia and have an even easier path to victory. She ultimately went with loyalty and still knew she could beat the other two.
Yeah. And that's why Alicia went first. And then Christina. Oh my, I'm going to go off on Christina for a minute, but we get there.
All right. And Alicia that was a blindside too.
Oh yeah, she didn't see that coming. She totally thought Chelsea was going home.
She thought that Kim was voting for Chelsea for sure. And she was a little bitter too. She said that she basically had to throw a little more shade at Christina and say how she dragged her through the game, like on her way out.
And Christina wasn't the one who voted her out.
Yeah. Oh, I hate Alicia.
Yeah, so do I. Oh, but Christina. Let me go off on Christina for a minute.
All right. Let's get to your thoughts on Christina. I want to hear it.
It's Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you laying down and dying at Final Four? Do something. Because basically Kim told her, like, oh, I think we're voting you out. She's like, oh, well, it was a good game. And then says at Final Tribal, yeah, oh, yeah, I'm going home.
I know I'm going home.
They talk about it. I'm like, do anything. Literally anything. You're one day away from the final three. You have a chance to plead your case if you get by tonight. Why are you not trying?
Yeah. She just laid down and died. Like you have to try it. Like you said,
that made me so angry.
Even if you have no shot, you have to try something, or you just look even more pathetic than she played the entire season.
And she was an awful player to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, do something, anything. I don't care what you do. You do not just say, like, you do not accept your fate as coming in fourth place on day 38. You just don't do it. You do everything possible.
You convince Kim that, really convince Kim that Sabrina or Chelsea have a shot at beating her. And I guess Kim was smart enough to know she probably was going to win either way, but like Christina has to try something. And
Kim knew she was winning either way when she voted Alicia out.
Yeah. Christina also, like, usually the final jury member, especially before the fire making, I would say, is like a great player. Like usually the last jury member is someone
fallen angel,
had a very good shot of winning the game. In this case, the biggest goat in the game was the final jury member, and we don't see that too often. But she might be. I'd have to go through it again, but she might be the worst final jury member.
I was just gonna say that the Day 38 Club.
Yeah, she's maybe the worst.
She's the worst, I think. Like I'm struggling as of the second to come up with the name who was worse.
Top of my head, I can't think of one.
Yeah, neither can I. But like no one. Oh my God! You fight out there for 38 days and you're not gonna fight to stay alive at Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
The only one I give more to, the only person I would almost give as much shit to on this is Ben and Winners at War.
Mm-hmm.
When he laid down and died and told Sarah you could vote me out at Final Five.
That was pathetic too. This might be even worse than that, though.
This is worse because you're actually at Final Four. You just have to get by this vote, and you're at the end. At least with Ben, if he survives that vote, he still has to get by another one.
Mm-hmm.
But even though Ben and Christina had the same chances of winning their seasons with a combined 0.
Yeah. All right, so let's get towards Kim wins.
Final Tribal was boring.
Final immunity, and yeah, I actually, like I said, I was still watching it at the beginning of this podcast, so I didn't pay too much attention to it on the rewatch like I did with everything else this season. But yeah, the writing was on the wall.
You knew Kim was winning.
We knew who was going to win. It was so obvious. Like you said, since episode 5-ish, Kim was starting to get the winners edit.
When she found that idol and made that alliance on the second Solani tribe, you knew she was winning the game.
Mm-hmm.
But
yep, and it was just such a predictable season. I wouldn't say from start to finish, but from
the swap to finish, it was so predictable. And just on the top of the fact that the cast is so forgettable, minus a few people, and then some of the people are just such horrible, like Colton and Alicia are just terrible people. Like no one likes them. Like it's a recipe for a horrible season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I think that I was surprised at how many players from this season have actually returned. But like you said,
I think it was
2
5.
of them were just to get their loved ones.
Yeah, no, Colton and Monica only came back for their loved ones. No,
and Kat
too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and they all their loved ones all brought more to the table than any of them did.
I guess I'm talking about Monica. Like, yes, Monica did much better than Brad in Blood vs. Water, but like when you talk about, especially when Brad came back for Game Changers. Like,
yeah, Brad's a good player.
Yeah, but like, yeah, no, Kat and Colt both got shown up on Blood vs. Water by Hayden Caleb.
Yeah, big time. So yeah, boring final tribal. I mean, you did have some bitterness towards Kim because she did have her hands in so many cookie jars and had to lie to a lot of people, but like also like people just had to respect how good she played, and I'm not sure why. Who was it? Troyzan voted for Sabrina.
Troyzan and Leaf voted for Sabrina.
Leaf voted Sabrina. So I don't really understand their reasoning why, but Sabrina played a good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it was a scenario like they wanted Chelsea in third or whatever. Like thought maybe they just thought Sabrina deserved to vote.
That's probably what it was. It wasn't like Redemption Islands where what did Ralph vote for Philip?
Ralph voted for Phil because he didn't want to vote for Rob.
I have no idea why Philip even got a vote. Like at least Sabrina was worthy of getting votes. Like
Sabrina played a good game. It's just she was sitting next to an all-time.
Yeah. Like I don't know why Sabrina didn't cut Kim. She seems smarter than that.
Well, I'll give Sabrina a little bit of slack here.
Kim won the immunities.
Kim won 4 out of the last five immunity challenges.
That's true.
So she had one shot to get her out, and that was the night Tarzan went out and Kim had an idol.
Yeah. It just shows Kim's complete dominance of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, so I want to do this also since we're going through every season of it. We'll rank our winners as we're doing it. Who do you think's a better winner, Kim Spradlin or Boston Rob?
Kim.
I agree. I think Kim's a better winner. They both played against weak cast. We can give him that, but it was Rob's fourth tryout, and he was playing against rookies who had never seen the show before.
Yeah, Kim did this on her first try.
Exactly. I think Kim's a better winner.
And I just feel like the game Kim played on One World was more impressive than Rob on Redemption Island. Because like you said, of how much more work she had to put in than Rob did. Rob really just had his alliance and used the scare tactic to make sure they didn't flip on him.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get to it further down the road because we'll talk about more seasons. But where like roughly before you rewatch all these and we really evaluate it like we have been, where do you rank Kim as a winner? Like just roughly.
Top 5.
Top 5. I would say
if she's not top 5, she's 6 or 7.
Yeah, I would say she might not be top 5 for me, just based on I put a lot of emphasis on who you're playing against, and I knock her down a couple points just because of the cast she was against. But
you can't have her below like 8 or 9.
Yeah, she's easily top 10 still, and in terms of utter dominance of the game, you could argue she played maybe the most dominant game.
She could have went out there with a blindfold and the hand tied behind her back and would have won that season.
Yeah, true. It's just complete dominance, and yeah, I'm thankful for Winners at War because I'm not sure if we would have saw Kim again if it weren't for Winners at War.
Yeah, I feel the same thing. I didn't know if she ever had anything left to prove, but I think the opportunity for Winners at War was the only reason she came back.
Yeah,
and I'm happy for it.
And so, what were your expectations for her going into Winners at War? Did you think she would do well?
I like pre-merge boot, absolutely.
Really? Okay.
I thought like the big time winners who played dominant games like her, Rob, Tony. I thought they were all going very early.
So I thought Tony and Rob and a few of the old schoolers that went out early. Like I expected it. Like I'm shocked Tony didn't go out early, and I'm even more shocked he won. But I had Kim right in that middle range. I thought Kim would be like a right after the merge boot. Like she made it a little further than I thought, but
she got to 8, I think.
She got 8th place, I think.
Well, she got 9th place because of Edge, but she went out at 8th.
Yeah. And like her name did come up early too. Like they split the vote.
Oh, she was close to going home on that first vote.
The very first tribal, yeah. But she worked her way in.
Mm-hmm.
She showed she has game. Like,
then she found an idol there too.
Yeah. Yeah, Kim's great, and I don't think her play on Winners at War, like some people who played Winners at War, it hurt their legacy or helped their legacy.
I was very impressed with how she played on Winners at War.
Yeah, I don't think it. I knew she was a great player, and she proved she was still a great player. So I don't think it changed really anything. It wasn't like Nick, who I think is a way worse player after Winners at War.
I'll get into Nick when we get to David versus Goliath.
Yeah.
I have some very strong opinions on
We
Nick.
have different opinions on Nick, is what I'll say. Yeah. We'll get to that. But anyways, we're good with this. I think we got everything covered pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone listening, our next episode is our 38th ranked season, which is Survivor Thailand. And man, this is going to be a tough one to watch, I think.
Yeah, it will be.
And I will backtrack. Actually, I said I was going to say it at the beginning of this episode. I'm putting One World ahead of Redemption Island now.
Yeah, I thought so.
I didn't love it. It was still terrible, but like I did enjoy it more than Redemption Island.
Redemption Island's so bad.
It's awful. Sorry, Vreeland. I know you might be listening here, but
yeah, you just flat out told your reason on why One World's better.
Yeah, there's more going on. It's predictable, but it was better. It was slightly better. I wouldn't say it was way better, but it's a little bit better. But what do you think about Thailand though? Do you think you might end up liking it worse than either of these two?
Yeah, I think Thailand might drop in my rankings after watching it again.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. So when you rewatch, the nostalgia feeling kind of goes away, and I thought that like some of the location with Thailand and just me being a little kid when I watched it. So I think I knocked it up a couple ranks for that reason, but on a straight rewatch, like how much enjoyment I actually get out of watching it, like how much I like the cast, I think it might end up dipping below these two seasons, but we'll see. Definitely going to be a tough rewatch, but
we'll have our opinions next week.
Yeah, so this one I powered through a little more. I watched most of them. I didn't start watching them until like Saturday. I watched most of them Saturday and Sunday, and then a little bit yesterday, a little bit today. But this one I'm going to start watching like tomorrow, because I don't know if I could watch more than 2 episodes a day like of this season.
Yeah, this one's going to be brutal.
Yeah. And I know he's a scumbag, but I do enjoy Brian Heidick's gameplay. There's a common theme among our worst few seasons that there's just a dominant winner, and it just leads to boring gameplay. Like
we'll get more into that next week.
Yeah. For me, some of these seasons though that are a little better, that we have ranked a little better, might not have as good of a winner, but they just weren't as predictable. So to me, the predictability really like lowers a season for me. Like when it's just exactly what's going to happen, it's not as fun.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, any sports news here? The Knicks have won 3 in a row. We're back over 500.
Mm-hmm. Still 8th in the East.
Yeah,
we got work to do.
Anywhere between 8th and 5th is looking like a possibility.
I mean, I'd love to be 6th, just avoid that play-in tournament.
Yeah, I'd be happy just getting in the playoffs either way. Like
I want Brooklyn round 1.
Yeah, even if we get Brooklyn round 1, hopefully we could like steal a game or 2. That would be awesome.
I want to make them work in any of those games we play.
That would be awesome, as long as they
make sure they lose later.
Lay down and just die the first like 2 or 3 games and then get swept.
This Knicks team doesn't lay down and die.
No, I don't think so either. I think they will take they won't get swept by any team. I don't think.
No.
They'll win at least every team in the East. They will beat at least one time in a 7-game series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's going to be tough, but got the Pelicans tomorrow, so it's a winnable game.
Yeah, they have a bunch of winnable games in their schedule.
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't look too bad. The Yankees won today too.
No,
Did they? No, they won yesterday.
They won yesterday and they lost today.
The Mets The Mets won both of their doubleheader games today.
That's good.
7-inning doubleheaders. We
still hate those still.
Oh, I hate them.
I also hate the ghost runner on second base.
So I hate that more than the 7-inning doubleheaders.
So do I.
I can sort of deal with the 7-inning doubleheaders. I don't hate it as a Mets fan because if we get a good start from our starter, we barely even have to use the shitty bullpen, which is kind of nice. But I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack every time those extra innings with the man on second base. Like it's just
it's so bad.
It's not baseball either.
It's not baseball. Stupid. Like I can live with the 7-inning doubleheaders because it's like you're getting another game anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, and there's no like when you have that runner on second, nobody out. There's no excuse to not score at least one run. Like you move the guy over to third, and then you get a productive out, and you get a run. Like if the Mets have that situation and they don't score, like I'm just livid. Like it's like
literally all you have to do: bunt, fly ball. You score the run.
Yeah, so we actually the first game today we had that went to extra innings, and the Phillies scored one in the top of the 8th, and then the Mets got one back and then loaded the bases and ended up Jonathan Villar had a walk off, like hitting the gap. It was only a single. It would have been like a double, but it's just.
I was down with my uncle and he's a Mets fan, so I was watching the game because there's nothing else on.
You got to score though. Like in that situation, you always have to score at least one run. It's like if you don't score the one run, you're expected to score the one run. So like,
oh yeah,
I knew the Phillies are scoring in the top of that inning, and with the way the Mets have been hitting with runners in scoring position, I did not think they were coming through. And then I knew we needed that game, especially because Nola was pitching game 2 for the Phillies, and Stroman actually out pitched Nola tonight. And that was nice to see. Stroman's looked solid his first 2 starts.
That's good.
After he freaking bailed on the team last year, I wasn't too happy about that. I'm shocked he came back, to be honest. Like we gave him a qualifying offer.
That's why he came back.
Yeah, he accepted it. I guess so. This year there wasn't a lot of teams weren't willing to spend money, and I think that's why he's banking that he's gonna have a good year and he's gonna get fucking paid after this year.
He could,
whether it's by the Mets or someone else. I think we're either gonna let one of him or Syndergaard walk. They're not.
I'd let him walk. I'd keep Syndergaard.
See, you got to see what he looks like when he comes back healthy. I think Syndergaard's got much better stuff than DeGrom. He's younger. I mean, not DeGrom. Much better stuff than Stroman. He's younger, but we got to see what he looks like when he comes back. He can't stay healthy. It's an issue.
Yeah. Speaking of staying healthy, James Taillon has to start getting pitching better. Like I know he's coming off Tommy John.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, but like he has to pitch better. Like
his 2 starts. He's had 2 starts.
Yeah, this first one he was okay, and this one today he was awful.
He pitched today, right?
Yeah, he was bad.
And is Judge back in the lineup?
Yeah.
So he's fine. It was just some side soreness.
I have no idea what the hell was wrong with him.
My dad texted me the other day, and he was like, Aaron Judge is the biggest pussy in the league. I'm just like, he hates him. He's like, keep that in mind. But
yeah, I don't know why he wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Like I have no explanation for it.
They're going to be extra cautious with him whenever they can.
Yeah, but sometimes it's just too extra.
Yeah, and another thing with the Mets, it's like, I know it's so early in the season, but Michael Conforto looks fucking lost right now.
Like, it's so bad. When I was watching that game, when I watched the first game today, he just had no idea what the hell he was doing.
Oh, it's bad. And I think you know this, but I'm a big staunch Conforto defender usually, and I can't really defend my guy right now. He's not looking good.
I think it's the pressure of
he's the contract. Yeah, I wish we had gotten
on a contract
in the season, but at this point, though, with Steve Cohen and how much money the Mets, how much more flexibility we're going to have to spend on people, if Conforto doesn't have a good year, I would let him walk. I hate to say it, but like, you can get someone more consistent. This guy is so streaky.
Yep.
And he doesn't hit with guys in scoring position a lot of the time. It's frustrating. No one, really no one's hitting right now besides Nimmo and Dom Smith. Those are the only two guys.
I'd say Lindor hasn't been that great.
He hasn't been done much. Alonso has had a couple big hits here and there, but he was on like an 0 for 13 skid until today. What's his McCann, the catcher we got, he hasn't been very good. McNeil has been hitting the ball. He's had some tough luck, but McNeil isn't hitting the ball that well. Yeah, no one's really hitting, and we're lucky we're getting great starting pitching so far. And it's a shame that we can't score one fucking run for Jacob deGrom, but
I feel so bad for Jacob deGrom.
Did you watch any of the game Saturday either?
I saw the bomb he gave to Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah, so Chisholm turned.
I don't know how he caught up to that pitch.
One fastball. I don't know how he caught up to it either.
It was 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, deGrom was like, that was one of the most filthy I've ever seen him. Like, he was filthy, and he is just like, it's crazy. He's gonna be 33 years old, I think, this year, and he's throwing harder.
Took a big ol' L.
Yeah, he's throwing. But what do you think of that? He's throws harder every year. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I'm amazed, like, once 2018 happened and how good he was, and like I feel like he's gotten better.
He has. I have no doubts that if last season was a full season too, that
he would have won the Cy Young again.
He would have won Cy Young easily,
hands down.
Like, he's been by far the best pitcher in baseball, I think, since 2018. Sorry, Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's really good, but it is what it is.
Sorry, Garrett Cole. I still love you.
Yeah. So my AL Cy Young pick, it's early, but it's looking good. Tyler Glasnow. It's filthy.
Fuck the Pirates. Fuck the Pirates for that trade.
Yeah, they got rid of
Glasnow and Meadows, and they both killed the Yankees.
And they had Garrett Cole too, like, early in his career. God, what a dumpster fire of a franchise.
They gave up Tyler Glasnow and Austin Meadows for fucking Chris Archer. And where's Chris Archer now? He's back in Tampa.
He's finished too. His
career. He's done.
Terrible now.
He's washed.
But yeah, they're I don't know, the Rays. That was the biggest fleece job maybe ever on that trade.
Like, I would understand if they got one of them. They got both, and they got another high prospect too from Pittsburgh.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Mets trading a washed up R.A. Dickey for Syndergaard. Travis Darno. Darno didn't work out for us, but
remember Darno was the crown jewel of that trade, and Syndergaard was the throw-in.
Yeah, exactly, which is crazy. I couldn't stand Darno on the Mets, though. I had such high hopes for him, and he did not work out. And then as soon as he leaves the Mets, he like starts to become like the catcher he showed he had the potential to be, and you're like, fuck.
Isn't that's typical Mets though?
No, it's yeah.
If you're on the Mets, you forget how to play baseball. As soon as you leave, you're fine. I
still think Jason Bay might be the worst example of that ever. He was like a perennial, like close to 300, like 35, 40 home run guy. And he got to the Mets and he was trash.
What about Jed Lowry?
Oh, God.
You signed him 2 years, $60 million. He plays what, 8 games?
I think he got like 7 at bats in his Mets career.
For 2 years, he was there. And like he's back in Oakland now. He's starting every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild what happened to him. How about Matt Harvey in Baltimore? I think that's even crazy.
I can't wait till we face him.
Oh, me neither. I hope he's pitching one of the games the Mets play in Baltimore this year, so I can go and just watch us hit like 3 home runs off of him.
He'll shut you down for 8 shutout.
Yeah, knowing the Mets, he'll have like his game of the season. That game. Most of my friends are Orioles fans though, and they make fun of the Orioles all the time. They're like, Matt Harvey's our fucking number 2 starter. Like, this is a disgrace.
Yeah, I think John Means is the number 1 because he's pretty good.
He is, yeah. Yeah, and the number 3 starter is my friend's friend that he went to high school with, Bruce Zimmerman, who's actually pitched pretty well so far. But it's like they're literally like they have no pitching at all.
They have no nothing.
Yeah,
they have Trey Mancini and Ryan Mountcastle. That's about it.
Yeah, they swept the Red Sox that first series, and they're like, oh.
And the Red Sox haven't lost since, I don't think.
Yeah, and they swept Baltimore in Baltimore. Yeah, my brother went to the opening day at Camden Yards against the Red Sox, and he's like, I'm just going to see Harvey get lit up. Like, he's a Mets fan. He's texting me the first inning. He's like, Harvey's already given up home runs. Like, yeah, I remember that day where Matt Harvey was better than Jacob deGrom. It was a crazy time.
It was 2015.
Yeah. I will say though, like, I started to see like Harvey like have a few like tough starts, and like you could see like his mechanics and his injury potential after he already had Tommy John in 2013. So, and I did start to see, I'm like, I think deGrom is just going to get better, especially since deGrom was a shortstop and then a relief pitcher. So he doesn't have some of these guys were overworked as kids. Like, they've been throwing like curveballs since they were like 11, 12 years old. Like, deGrom wasn't getting his arm worn out at such a young age like Harvey was. So definitely worked out for him. But yeah, I'm not happy with how the Mets have been playing, and I'm sure you're not happy with how the Yankees have been playing, but we're still 4-3. And
yeah, I think we're 5-6. I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say
after that loss today.
500. Now, are you worried or no?
No,
it's too early.
Wake me up in June. I'll be worried then if they're still playing this bad.
What if they're 500 in June? Will you be worried?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The Mets, I know we have a very good team on paper, but I think I said it last week, but I will say it again. The bullpen every year is just the Achilles heel. And I think we're still going to be a good team, but I think they're going to have to overcome the shitty bullpen.
Edlus Diaz.
Yeah. Hopefully when we get once we get Carrasco and then Syndergaard back, we could maybe move a couple starters into the bullpen, help out. Lugo needs to come back.
I was gonna say, you need Seth Lugo back.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's consistent too. I love Seth Lugo. Dumbest thing the Mets ever did was try to put him in the rotation. Like, again, like he's our only consistent reliever. We need him there.
Well, because he wants to start. The Mets just say, sorry, dude, you're a reliever.
Yeah, you have to. And like, he can give you two like, not most like shutdown relievers can give you 2 good innings, but he can give you
Chad Green.
Yeah, Green's a beast though.
But like, we've had to limit him to like 1 appearances because our bullpen's fucking shot because there's no Zach Britton there.
Yeah. Yeah, when you don't have one of your main guys, it hurts. We're seeing it with Lugo. Like, literally any close game, basically this year, the Mets pitch, it's Castro first and then Trevor May. And then if we get to Edwin Diaz, it's him. It's those 3 guys. Like, not one other guy is pitching in close games, really. It's always them 3.
Yeah, you need Seth Lugo back.
Yeah, they're overworking Castro right now too. He's got good stuff, but like, he can't be pitching every single close game. It can't happen. We haven't even seen Robert Gazelman yet. Thank God. That guy is terrible. He's so bad. I don't know how he's still on the team. At least he's some of these like not using some of these like bum like AAA starters like Chris Flexen and Corey Oswalt. Like, at least we don't have those guys in our rotation this year. Or those bums, Michael Wacha and Rick Porcello.
Michael Wacha's in Tampa Bay now.
Did he shut down the Yankees the other
No, we slapped him around.
Okay. Someone
It was Brent Honeywell. They called up from the minors to make his debut, and he pitched 2 perfect innings.
That
They
was
pulled him
that
out
guy
for
who hadn't
Waka.
pitched in like years, right? He had like
He had a bunch of
Honeywell.
elbow surgeries.
Yeah, he had major injuries I saw, but yeah,
Yeah,
Waka's terrible.
2 shutout innings, and then Waka comes in and immediately gives it up.
Yeah, those were typical Brody Van Wagenen signings. The Porcello and Waka just did not work out.
Yeah, no, you guys got better off with Carrasco.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to him coming back, and they said he's making good progress. He's already like he's closer to coming back than people were saying he was.
I'd say probably early June he's back.
Hopefully before that.
I'm just being like cautiously thinking.
Yeah, so I'd say he's back in May, and Syndergaard's not back till July, probably.
Yeah, probably not. I wouldn't. He got his surgery in March, right, for the Tommy John?
Yeah, because it was either March or April.
I'd say July. I think him and Severino will be back around the same time.
Yeah. When did Severino get his surgery?
February. His was before spring training.
His was before. Okay. Yeah, because Syndergaard was announced fine. Like he was everything. And then
Syndergaard didn't get his Tommy John until after spring training was shut down.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like after the whole COVID thing was a deal, I was like all pissed. I was like, yeah, well, we don't have any fucking sports for a while. And then the news comes out that Syndergaard needs Tommy John, and I'm like, I see all these tweets like, even with no sports going on, the Mets still taking L's.
The Mets will always be the Mets.
And then that's when you had all the Jamal Adams stuff going on with the Jets too. So I was like, I knew he was about to get traded too, and I was like, oh, here we fucking go.
Lol Mets and lol Jets.
Yeah. Screw Adams though. I don't need him.
Who knows what the fucking shit show that's gonna be going on in Seattle with Russell Wilson?
Yeah, he's not getting traded though.
Not this offseason.
You think next year?
I don't think he's finishing his career in Seattle.
Yeah, maybe not. I always thought he would, but I think he's just tired of them.
He's tired of getting line. I say he's tired of getting his ass kicked every week by the defenders.
Yeah. Yeah, should be interesting though. Where do you think the Giants are going with the draft?
I honestly don't know. They when we signed Galladay, it opened them up. They could do whatever they want with the 11th pick.
They don't need a receiver anymore like they desperately did. Because I know they were throwing Devontae Smith out there for a while before they signed Galladay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if we take a receiver, I'm not going to be upset. If we take Kyle Pitts, I'm not going to be upset. If we take a lineman, I'm not going to be upset. If we take an edge rusher,
I don't think Kyle Pitts is going to be on the board.
Yeah, he'll be gone. I think he's going to be a Cowboy.
I think he's like you think he's going to be a Cowboy?
Mm-hmm.
I think they got big. Like, obviously, take the best player available if you can, but they've got so many defensive needs, especially with how much money they have tied into their offense. They're not going to be able to sign anybody on defense. So, like,
yeah, but Jerry Jones is not known for making the smart decisions sometimes.
Yeah.
He wanted to draft Johnny Manziel instead of Zach Martin.
Yeah, that shit was so funny. Like, watching that draft, you could see him like about to like burst through the freaking TV. Like, just he wanted to draft him so bad, and someone told him we can't do it.
It was his son. He said was drafting Zach Martin.
Yeah, which was obviously the smart decision. But
Johnny Manziel was out of the league 3 years later, and Zach Martin's one of the best offensive linemen of all time.
Yeah. Sometimes not always like the attractive pick isn't always like the right pick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the Jets are taking Zach Wilson though. I guess it's pretty set on that.
Yeah, with Darnold gone.
Yeah. I'm rooting for Darnold still. I think he got a raw deal with the Jets. I like the guy, but it was time to move on. We got to see what Wilson can do.
Mm-hmm.
But
new head coach, new GM.
It's a little risky taking a guy from a weaker conference who hasn't played top competition, and like he really only had one great year in college, which was this past year. And like I think the only ranked defense he played was Coastal Carolina, and he like struggled that game too. So like, I don't know. Hopefully, it doesn't suck. His tape looks good though. He's got a cannon of an arm, and he's mobile. Seems like a good kid. He's a Mormon, so I'm sure he doesn't get in any trouble or anything. So, but I don't know. Justin Fields could be good too, though. Like
I think Justin Fields is getting slept on.
I'm not completely out on him yet. So, one of my best friends is he went to Ohio State. He's a big Ohio State fan. He's been telling me for months, like, you guys will be so stupid if you don't draft Justin Fields. Like, he keeps saying it. And I'm like, he's like, everyone's just sleeping on him because of the Ohio State QB thing. Like, none of the Ohio State QBs have been good in the pros, and that's why.
No, and especially with the last one, I think Haskins was the last one.
Yeah, but I
and
will
what a complete dumpster fire he was.
Same friend told me that Haskins wasn't ready for the pros, and he was right about it. So,
100% right.
He wasn't hyping him up like he is with Justin Fields.
You know, I remember the Giants got killed when they took Daniel Jones instead of Haskins.
Yeah, and
100% the right decision.
It was 1,000% the right decision. I can't imagine how Haskins would have looked with the Giants. It may be even worse than he did with Washington.
It would have been worse because he would have been on the bright lights of New York.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have had arguably a worse line even, and he wouldn't have had Terry McLaurin.
That Washington line
stares down every play.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since they played together in college. Like,
he was literally
stare down Terry every play.
Mm-hmm. And he was so easy to read for a defense.
I think they said he was like the Jamarcus Russell type thing too, where like they sent him like tape of like to watch or something, and it was all like blank tapes, and like he said he watched all of them, and like they're like, dude, like there wasn't anything on the tapes. Like he had the worst work ethic too.
I heard.
It's funny too. All my friends hate him too because like he's from Maryland, and he was supposed to go to Maryland, and then he decommitted last second and went to Ohio State, and like he was supposed to be like they don't have good football. Like they never had a good quarterback really. He was supposed to be like their like saving grace, like to be relevant in college, and like he just goes to Ohio State and like snakes them at the last minute, and like when they all see him do bad in the pros, they're like, good. Like, I hate this guy. Like,
I think he's with the Steelers.
He's with the Steelers. Yeah, and I joke with my like friends who are Steelers fans too, and they're like, I'm like, who's your insurance behind Big Ben this year? And they're like, Dwayne Haskins. Like, good luck. Big Ben's pretty much washed too, I think.
Oh, he's done.
The end of last year, they were terrible. Couldn't really.
There was no better comedy last postseason than that Steelers Browns playoff game.
Oh, they got smoked.
28-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, it was tough. Well, I do think, I don't know, the Super Bowl was pretty like, I don't think anyone expected the Chiefs to get smacked around like that in the Super Bowl either. So
I thought it was boring, but it was definitely the other way around that I expected. I thought the Chiefs would be the ones dominating.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good game though.
No, it was awful.
Yeah. The national championship was kind of awful too, like basketball and football.
It just reminded us it's nice to have sports back.
Yeah, for sure.
After last year's, especially with the March Madness, we didn't get it last year.
Yeah, I remember last year at this time, like usually with sports, it was like every Wednesday you just had Survivor to look forward to. And then when that was over, you're like, oh, fuck, what do I do for another week? Like, it was
rough.
Yeah. But then you also had in the back of your minds, getting back to Survivor, it was like, now with this quarantine thing, we're not going to be getting, I knew, so this fall we'll be getting another season, but I didn't think we would get another, like, or I knew like last year at this time that fall of 2021 would be the earliest we would get another Survivor season.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that how you
I knew
felt
there
too?
was. Yes, I remember when they announced that there's fall schedule for 2020. They had Survivor on. I'm like, there's no way you make that happen unless you do it locally.
Yeah, my mom keeps asking me too. She's like, uh, when Survivor, like she's not like me or you, but like she's seen almost every season of Survivor, and she keeps asking me when it's gonna be back on, like if I know anything about it. I'm like, I'm
It'll be
pretty
in the
sure.
fall.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're. You think they're filming now, or are they
They
in
were
like
definitely
pre-production?
out there a couple weeks ago.
They're definitely out there, but I don't know if they actually started filming it or not.
Yeah.
I did.
Oh,
I got to bring this up to you real quick. I did see something today on Instagram. Some Survivor account I follow.
was it the logo?
Yeah.
I
Did you
saw
see
the logo.
that?
I saw it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like it said like I think
Survivor
it
Worlds
was
Collide.
Worlds Collide. So what the hell is that? Is this just worlds apart with a different name? Like
God, I hope not.
someone said they hope it's not like political, like
I'm gonna be really upset if that's what it is.
oriented. Like
Like
we
I've
already
been
had
politics goes into everything in my life. I don't want it. I don't want it going into Survivor.
yeah, for sure. And I like I also like just think of the last newbie season, Island of the Idols, and I don't want to see like unnecessary like shit with like stuff like that going on again. Like we watched Survivor to get away from that, and that would just
Yeah,
be
I don't.
horrible.
Yeah, I don't want that at all.
But like, oh, I hope this cast is good, and I've got faith it will be.
Mm-hmm. These players have a lot on their plate though. Like they really have to be good.
Yeah, like just because not only is it after Winners at Works, we haven't seen it in a season and a half. Like it'll be a year and a half since
Mm-hmm.
we've seen Survivor when this comes out. So like this season's got to bring it really. I feel like I'll be a little bit biased, and even if this season isn't that good, I'll like it more than I thought because
It's been gone for so long.
it's been gone for too long. So I'm thinking like it, unless it's Redemption Island or One World or Thailand, it can't be that bad. Like there's no way.
I'm just gonna be so excited that it's gonna be back.
And I think that I think the last three newbie seasons, David versus Goliath, Edge of Extinction, and Island of the Idols, all did have solid cast of newbies.
Yeah, all David versus Goliath was excellent.
Yeah, and I think Edge of Extinction and Island of the Idols had plenty of good castaways too.
Well, I didn't do that, I'll say. But Edge of Extinction,
We'll
Edge of
argue
Extinction,
about that in a couple weeks, but
Edge of Extinction to me would be a top like a better season if there was no Edge of Extinction.
yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, I think that
But yeah, the newbies on that season were very good.
yeah, and it gives me faith because I think that they're casting the right people now. Like we just saw Redemption Island and One World. They were not casting the right people, but
It was so they were bad. Like these new people, whoever's doing the casting now is doing a good job.
yeah, we need to. I doubt he'll ever listen to this, but we need to get Kenny Mack, season 43. Kenny Mack, can't wait. It's happening. He's got a spot.
Oh, Kenny.
Yeah, God, that would be gold. Trying to think who Kenny would be most like. What player would you compare him to the most?
Coach
Or Shane?
Probably both.
A cross between both.
The stories the stories he would come out with.
Oh my God. I don't even know what kind of he would tell. He would have some sort of like elaborate lie made up. Just I don't know. He definitely wouldn't tell them he's a day trader. He would tell them he's like a teacher or some shit. Like he actually in Brevsky season 2, he was like my number one from like the day one in that game until I turned on him. But whatever. Anyways, I actually thought he was a teacher until he was voted out in his exit video. He's like saying, "Yeah, I'm not a fucking teacher." Like like we would have conversations about it. Like he'd be like, yeah, I'm responding to emails and shit like that. Like, Jesus, this guy is so deep. It's too funny though. All right.
Okay.
All right. It's getting late.
Yeah, let's wrap. We should wrap this
How
up.
long did we record that for?
I'll find out when I'm done when this all compiles.
Right. It was probably it was longer than last time, I think.
Yeah.
It was probably close to 3 hours.
But we'll be back.
All right.
Till
next time. We got some Survivor Thailand to get to watching.
Not to look forward to, just to watch.
Yeah. I'm going to try to enjoy it more than I could. We'll see how that works out. I'm going to try to see the positives, but it's tough.
It will be.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
I think we're good.
Yep.